Well, welcome today to the Purple Inspiration Podcast, Rising Above the Noise. I'm Judy Lloyd, your host, and we know this podcast is about consensus and working collectively to solve problems. In this space, you meet community leaders who are exceptional and learn why they are extraordinary. And I've got one of those extraordinary women today with me, Tracy Farhad. Who would have known that an ex-performer and interior designer would find the perfect mix of bringing people together in tourism promotion? After 23 years as a self-proclaimed PR junkie for the tourism industry and now the official Tri-Valley cheerleader as CEO of Visit Tri-Valley, Tracy can't help but show off her new hometowns to the world for them to discover. Perhaps that's because she believes in the power of travel as ambassadors for good, mixed with a love of the arts, heritage, buff foodie, and an outdoor enthusiast. And we are sure in that type of region where we can do and enjoy all those things. And what better place to have the Energizer bunny Tracy than the Tri-Valley cities of Danville, Pleasanton, Livermore, and Dublin that she represents. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Judy. I'm happy to be here. Yes, I'm a shameless promoter. I admit it.
Well, there's no shame in promoting beautiful country and beautiful cities, and we certainly have that. So, I mentioned you were a performer, you were in PR, now you've moved over to destination marketing and tourism. How was that progression in your life? You're kind of in your third act now, and lots of people wonder, how do you pivot? How do you take on something new?
I'm glad I have a third act. That's very interesting. How do you? I've always believed in following your passion, and dancing was my passion when I was very young, and I was in a dance company by the time I was 16. So I remember the day when I told my mom when I watched Romeo and Juliet being danced on TV, I said, I want to do that. And it's wonderful to have that kind of support in your life that you can explore those passions. So I did that for quite some time, and I learned a lot about how to sell yourself because there's a lot of auditioning that goes on. I went to New York when I graduated high school and danced up there for a while, and then after a while you start to see, am I going to be an old Corrine dancer, in my late 30s, and so you decide to do that switch, and I had the opportunity to dance probably out to California. And I had the opportunity to go to UCLA and try another passion of mine, which was space planning. And I wanted to be an architect, but math wasn't my best subject in school. So, and in fact, decorating isn't really my best either. But I was great at space planning and ended up getting to know people, the clients that I worked with. And there's a lot of, and if you want to just try to put your own design on somebody else, that isn't going to happen without being able to find out what they like, who they are, what their direction that they like to go. So, but then that got to a point where I would promote a great solution to a home or an office, and then checking all the availability of fabrics and whatnot. And I kept having to resell things over and over again because it would be out of stock or things just changed. But it's in schools where I met my partner, and thank goodness she knew how to draw. And so she was really good at that. So we were a good pair for each other. Then life just started to happen a little bit. And I realized that I had stopped wanting to give as much as I was just looking at what am I going to take from a client. And I went, ooh, that doesn't sound good. So I thought, let's switch, let's change completely. And that's when I discovered travel and tourism. I've never been bored a day in my life.
Yeah, I bet you haven't. It's kind of funny that you mentioned, things like client work. And, I worked, as you know, many years in Washington, D.C., and it's all about that elected official and what their passion is and what direction do they want to go? And you've got to be able to pivot. And I have to just tell this quick story. I was with my niece this past weekend. I guess I'm a grand aunt, I guess. So she's 9 months old, and she's just learning about textures, and she touches everything. And all I could think of is there's people who put so much thought into those textures. and how do they react with one another? And, so that you just said that really, kind of brings it all full circle for me.
Well, and it's also in what you know too. It's a lot about listening
Yes.
and discovery, and that's been a big part of it. But it was
Yeah.
funny how I ended up in travel and tourism. I I was doing a little temp work because I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I literally didn't know what I wanted to do next, and so I went to interview at a job, and they shared a building with the Santa Barbara Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I just saw that long acronym, SB, CVB, and FC, on a sign in the back. And I'm in the middle of my interview, and I said, "Ooh, what's that?" And they said, "Oh, you should go over there. They're always looking for someone." So I literally left the interview halfway and went out the back door into the travel and tourism world. So it's been a fun adventure.
That is so interesting. So, so Santa Barbara is one of my favorite places of all time. Beautiful ocean. It's just lovely down there. San Diego, Slow, all those places along the water. But I've had more people bring this up to me in the last couple of weeks. California can kind of be controversial sometimes. Not just this week, but for the past several years. And people ask me all the time from other parts of the country, has the luster worn off the Golden State? You've got high gas prices, high cost of living, high home values, and other things we're not going to talk about that have led to a negative perception of California. What do you think? Is it challenging trying to sell, a destination in this climate, or how do you deal with that?
It's interesting because California is still like number one or number two. We go back and forth between other states and as a desired place. People always want to come here to follow their dreams. That's why the tagline's been "Dream Big" or "Find Yourself Here." So that's been, people want to find out, wow, how are you able to do what you are doing, in this state? And there is so much beauty here. To go from the beaches to the mountains to, the valleys to the harvest to, the bounty is amazing in California. So even though there might be some taint, from time to time, and it feels like daily these days, Judy, California still resonates with a lot of people who want to have that quintessential American experience. So, I don't think California is hard. Now, the Tri-Valley might be a little more difficult because we literally are not on the map. There's no map that says Tri-Valley.
Right.
So that's always a challenge in trying to distinguish ourselves amongst all the other great places there are to go here in California.
That's true. Well, we do have, and I read this. I just want to, I've got your inspiration guide here. I just wanted to point that out for everyone. That's
You're high.
My favorite things to read every year, to be honest with you. But we don't have a beach. We talked about that in the Tri-Valley. We're a little bit inland, but we do have our liquid assets. 50 wineries and craft breweries. Some of the most beautiful hiking trails. I got a kick out of reading your guide to happiness in the Tri-Valley, which was one of my favorite articles to read in your inspiration guide. So what sets us apart? What makes us, such a meaningful destination? Those of us who live here understand it.
Yeah.
But those of us outside might not.
Well, it's always a surprise for folks to find out that a location this close to one of the biggest, most beautiful cities in the country, with San Francisco just 35, 40 minutes away, depending upon traffic. Yeah, just don't go during traffic.
Or an hour and 35.
Yeah, or an hour and 35. People are very surprised at what you can also find here. And I know it was pretty sleepy for a long time, but we're not sleepy anymore. We have massive innovation here between the hundreds of businesses who have located out here. And that innovation spark shows up in our wine region. We may not be Napa and Sonoma, but people who have done Napa and Sonoma or who don't want to pay $400 for a wine tasting
Yep.
They can come out here and they get the accessibility to our winemakers. I mean, they're usually there. Sometimes they're pouring. And you can get some amazing conversation. The same with our breweries and all of that's taken place. Our culinary is really exceptional. It's very international. When you have the diversity that we have in the Tri-Valley, you can't help but have Filipino food over here or Turkish food over there or, Japanese or Chinese. I mean, we have amazing culinary options. And that's what we like to focus on too, is especially through our annual restaurant week, we like to shine that light. But between our open spaces, so close to big city, our arts and culture, our adorable, quaint downtowns. I mean, I just love being able to walk downtown. I mean, to go see a concert in the park at night, right after you dine at a Michelin star restaurant, I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to put in a plug for the Italian cuisine in Danville because as someone full Italian and half Sicilian, half Italian, but full Italian, if you will, Taverna Sorrentino's really taken life by storm in Danville, and we've got Incontro, and we've got, Laconda Raffaello and Piatti and all these wonderful places. So, it really, every city has its own charm and has its own restaurants.
Yeah. I mean, each Livermore is very different from Pleasanton, different from Dublin, different from Danville. And that's why it makes it easier for us, because to be able to put Tri-Valley on the map, to be able to shine those attributes that are right here in the backyard. It's very Americana, and the international audiences love it out here.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really wonderful. So are you working on any projects, anything special that you want to share? Any innovative things? I mean, we are right in the midst of Sandy National Lab and Lawrence Livermore National Lab. You mentioned the scientists. There's more. What do they call it? The smartest square mile in the United States.
Yeah, I'm not on that square mile, Judy. But I mean, we've got all of that going on for innovation. Of course, the whole tech and life sciences and all that's here. AI is big. AI is taking a real bite out of travel and tourism, and our usual platforms and channels for distribution, for advertising and marketing are all affected by that. So, in fact, we're redoing our website next year with a full AI component so that we still maintain the source of what's true about what we have going on. People still want to hear an authentic voice, so that's a good thing. We also do seasonal marketing, where it used to be where you would have like the summer off because people were already coming. You got to be on 24/7 these days. But what we're also excited about is a new sports destination summit. Our sales team is working on that to start that brand new. California doesn't have one, although I can name Florida, Texas, Illinois, all sorts of states that have specific sporting, to attract those sports right holders, because we do really well with sports. We bring in over 10.3 million in visitor spending annually just from sporting events. Don't you love? Didn't you ever have to travel around with kids?
Of course.
I had to travel with my son. He did mountain bike racing in the weirdest places. So we're working on that. But what I'm really excited about is our progress on building a new multi-use event center. So we want to there's a real gap we've found in our feasibility study. We can host up to like 500 people, but to have a 1,000 person event, we have to send them out of the Tri-Valley. And we want to keep the money here in the Tri-Valley and have that be something that can recirculate and provide the great, lifestyles that we all appreciate here. So that multi-use event center is making progress. We're gathering. Now we're going to put it in Dublin, right next to the freeway, so everyone can see it coming and going. And they're going to be able to say, I want to go to a concert there. I'm going to bring my sports team there. Or, hey, corporations, I want to have my conference in my media space. So stay tuned for that.
So I have to tell you, that's really appealing to me as a sports fan. I love football, I love baseball, I love all of them. But as a concert fan, I mean, I look at all the acts that I like to see in country music, and they're at the Fruit Yard in Modesto, and they're out at Shoreline, which is an hour plus away,
Yeah.
and they're up in Santa Rosa, at San Francisco, at San Jose, and I'm kind of like everywhere. I'm kind of surrounded, but there's nothing like you're talking about. So
Here. It'll be a great asset for and a wonderful benefit for the Tri-Valley. I mean, we have over 350,000 people out here in the Tri-Valley. I think we could use a nice concert hall. And even, I mean, I love going to the theater at the Bankhead and the Firehouse and the Valley Rep Theater. I mean, I love that. But we don't have anything that can handle 2,000 to 5,000 people. And that's what we're looking at.
Well, that's funny.
We'll get Swifty.
Well, that's pretty exciting, I have to say. So this show is meant to bridge divides and showcase remarkable women like yourself. You're one of my amazing friends and someone I really appreciate. And you work across, 4 cities and several unincorporated areas in 2 of the largest counties in California. How do you build consensus? Everyone has a lot of pride in their cities, and they think about, their city being the center of the universe, and they should, because, people are elected and have great pride in their cities. But how do you kind of bring people together?
That's very interesting you say that, because even though we're all very close to each other, I mean, no one's more than 15 minutes away, one direction or the other. There is that incredible pride, and there's the uniqueness of each city. And so every city and town wants to be recognized for what they have and to be able to stand out and have it be very unique. So part of having to build consensus on any of our marketing programs and things that we're doing, you really have to acknowledge that everyone is different. There isn't a single size that fits to everybody, right? There are different purposes for things. I mean, we host a lot of journalists every year. We bring them in and we try to get them around to everywhere so that we can give them a taste of everything so that they can get that feel. But in order to build that consensus, I mean, you have to do a lot of listening. I mean, absolutely a lot of listening. You have to understand, you have to try to put yourselves in their shoes and for what they're trying to accomplish. Can you think, like an elected thinks, or what a staffer thinks, or what an attraction executive director, needs to, fulfill his goals for the year, his or hers. So there's a lot of that listening. There's a lot of testing out of different options. And for me, it's not if somebody says no, or they don't quite say yes quite yet, that doesn't mean that it can't happen. It just means, there's another opportunity to find out what's the most important to them. And then align our goals, because we're in service. I mean, after all, we're a nonprofit. We're doing this to benefit the communities and to benefit the residents. And we pretty much just want to bring more awareness to the community that'll help people move here, that'll help businesses grow here. So, I mean, that's a big one for it. I also have to be, not have to be. I tend to be very positive, a positive person where I see opportunities. In fact, my team, they hate it when I come back from a conference and I've got some more ideas, and they're like, oh no, she's got more ideas.
That happened to me when I was chamber president. I totally understand that. Your staff has this sort of moments of terror when you come back from these conferences, because you're like, why don't we do this? And then you have to figure out can you execute some of these things? And many of them you can. So, well, Tracy,
like the multi-use event center, it's a very big project. I've never done anything that big before, but I also refuse to have fear about it, because I have such belief in what it can do and what it can bring to the communities, and because of that, I think that's what keeps me going. But I think it's also people. We all have our own jobs to do, right? We're all so busy doing our own work, and everyone is coming from that mindset of doing that work. So how can I make that job easier for somebody else? That's how I look at it.
Well, you are a visionary leader and you are one of the most positive people in our region. I'm so happy you took a chance to sit down with us today. Thank you so much, Tracy Farhad. I really appreciate you. You are really truly one of my
Thank you,
favorites.
Judy, you're one of my favorites too. And I just wanted to finish. You said at the very beginning about being ambassadors for good. And I really, when I was 18, I backpacked through Europe with my high school sweetheart. That's when I learned I no longer wanted to be in a hostel with a backpack. I wanted to stay in a cute bed and breakfast. But what I really discovered was how different the rest of the world is. And I love being able to talk about back home. And who of us doesn't love to talk about the great places we live? I mean, that's easy. That part is easy. But I really think there are less differences out there. There's more commonalities. We just have to find that middle ground. And I hope everyone does think of themselves as ambassadors for where they live, and share that, because it's a good thing to do, is to share.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you, Tracy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Judy, and good luck. I love the podcast.
Thank you.